Ako yung Neil.
The views and opinions expressed by the host do not necessarily state or reflect those of the hospital and its management. Furthermore, the views and opinions of the guests do not reflect those of the host, the show, the management, and the hospital. Lastly, no copyright infringement intended. All materials used and music background credit to the owner for public service purposes only.
Alright, maayong hapon mga quarantine. Maayong hapon, Dr. Helen.
Maayong hapon. Welcome to Debunking
Welcome
Myths
to Debunking Myths on
Habit.
Monday Habit. Right. So
Yan.
karong hapuna,
We have very special guests this afternoon kay kinahanglan ta makasabot sa atong COVID vaccination. And especially, ugma, muabot na ang atong mga vaccines nga Sinovac from Manila.
yes, and I'm sure everyone is excited. Ang atong publiko, no, nagtanaw na sa Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center tungod kay kita ang first diri sa
nga makadawat.
yes,
sa
diri sa Cebu
vaccine.
City. So atong taga masipang papa mo. Thank you so much for that. And tungod para lang gyud mahibaw-an og masabtan unsa ning COVID-19 vaccination, Dr. Helen.
Yes.
So what is our activity for tonight, this afternoon?
So tonight, ang atong COVID vaccination program, no, information dissemination, kay kinahanglan accountable tag, transparent. So we invited special guests coming all the way from Manila, no, mga bigwigs, mga
Yes.
heavyweight ni sa atong DOH, sa NITAG, sa TAG, and even our own internal medicine consultants to give light to this topic on COVID vaccinations, especially sa mga atong mga quarantine, mga VSMMC, mga sotonyan nga
Sotonyans.
nagduha-duha pa kung magpabakuna ba o dili.
Yes, kaya
So,
pag yung pangutana no sa una-una
Yan.
kung magpabakuna ba ko or magmusud ba ko ani, and then Sinovac is here, so unsay
Yes.
dapat buhaton. So
Oo.
we have invited our guest experts, yes, from the national. Yeah, despite their busy schedule.
Very busy schedule.
Yeah, puno kaya ang schedule. They still give time for the Cebuanos and us here in Region 7. So Dr.
Yes,
Helen,
so
let's
thank you in
start.
advance. Today we will have COVID-19 vaccination, boon or bane. So
Yeah.
we have our Ninong Doc Ted Herbosa. He is advisor of the National Vaccination Operations Center in the IATF and executive vice president of the University of the Philippines. And he got his vaccine today at
Wow.
PUP-PGH.
Right, please welcome
Yan.
Dr. Teodoro Herbosa.
Good afternoon, Doc
Good afternoon.
Ted.
Good afternoon, ayong hapon sa mga Cebuano, and dadating na rin ang bakuna sa Cebu. I think in a day or so.
Yes.
Vaccines are happening there. Oo.
So ang
Exciting.
mga vaccines, Doc Ted, will arrive tomorrow at 7:40 in the morning. So we are
Wow.
having our simulation exercises this afternoon
Correct.
at the same time that we're having this session.
Yes, we also have the member of the National Immunization Technical Advisory Group, or NITAG. We have Dr. Shirley De La Vega.
Yan, thank you, Ma'am Shelley. And of course, We have a member of the Technical Advisory Group of the Department of Health, Dr. Edsel Salvania, Infectious Disease Specialist. Good afternoon, Doc Edsel.
Hi, Dr. Edsel. Hello.
Good afternoon, mayong hapon sa tanan.
Mayong hapon.
Mayong hapon sa tanan.
Mayong hapon, Dr. Edsel. Then we also have yes, Director 4 for Health Promotion and Communication Service of the Department of Health, Dr. Beverly Lorraine Hall. Hi, Dr. Hello, Dr. Mayong hapon.
Yan, I'm very tickled that you're here because every day sa LED screens namin, mukha niyo po yung sumasalubong sa amin. So it's so exciting.
Yeah, maka-starstruck. Dr.
Okay.
Bev, yes.
And we are also very lucky that we actually have a special addition to our list of guest resource speakers this afternoon. He's an IM allergologist and the newest member of our Adverse Events Following Immunization Composite Team. Please help me welcome Dr. Ian Fruto Teodorico III.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Doc Fruto.
Hi, good afternoon. Mayong hapon sa tanan.
Okay,
Mayong
mayong
hapon, Doc
hapon.
Fruto. And of course, we also have the Deputy Chief Implementer of COVID-19 Health Facility of Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center. We have Dr. Maria Felina Villamor. Dr. Pen, hi!
Hi, Doc Pen.
Good afternoon.
Mayong
Yan.
hapon.
Okay, thank you
Alright.
very much. Thank you very much for attending this afternoon. I know all of you are so busy, but this is our effort to bring to our Sotonians the correct information about COVID vaccination in general and Sinovac in particular. Ang
Right.
UPPGH had their vaccination today, yung symbolic and the actual flow implementation of their vaccination. And by March 4, ang
Vicente
atong
Soto.
vaccination in Vicente Soto.
Right. So ang sa mga nagtanaw na to karon sa kahanginan no in our Facebook live and also to our cross posting sa different partners nato, you can always write down, send us your comments or questions in our comment box. Okay? So Dr. Helen, can we now start our first question?
Okay, so we roll out the first question. Neil, our first question is directed to Dr. Edsel Salvania. Okay, this is the question. It is said that Sinovac serves 50% protection from mild symptoms. Will this be enough to protect us, or the vaccine be enough to protect us from COVID-19?
Well, thank you for that question, Helen. No? Yung 50% po is protection from mild disease. But we should
Yes.
also look at the other vaccine efficacies. It's 78% efficacious against moderate disease, meaning you have to see a doctor, and 100% efficacious against severe disease. So the difference really is that even though you get sipon, di ka na mamatay. Ganun lang po yung kadali. Ang EUA vaccines naman po natin is really meant to prevent death. If we had this vaccine at the start of the pandemic, dun sa 2.5 million na namatay, wala agad mamatay, maybe 1 or 2, but not, very, very few. So that is the beauty of this vaccine. There are 200 vaccines in development, but this is the one that's here. And ang sabi nga ni Dr. Fauci, you take the vaccine that is available. Kasi yung magandang vaccine na wala pa, hindi ka rin mapoprotect nun. So the most important thing is meron po tayong protection against severe disease, because without severe disease, COVID-19 is basically the common cold. Yun lang po.
Yeah, oo. So Doc Edsel, I'd just like to expound on what you said po na 50% efficacy from mild COVID and 78% efficacy against moderate and 100% efficacy against severe. You were the one, sir, who I've always been using your analogy of the leon and the pusa. No, it's can you share with us that analogy po, sir?
Well, yes, kasi ang COVID naman, ang problema lang naman natin ngayon sa COVID is it can kill people. Around 3% yung case fatality rate as of the last calculation. Kung parang flu lang yan, which is 0.1%, wala tayong problema ngayon. So if you have a vaccine, even if tuloy-tuloy yung transmission, but it doesn't kill anybody, then we don't have a pandemic. the unique thing about COVID, especially for the high-risk population, lalo na yung seniors. Seniors kasi ang death rate is more than 10%. Sa 80 years old and above, it's 13%. So parang SARS yan. So, and that is why, yung mga bata, if you want, you can wait for the next vaccine na merong transmission blocking and everything. Pero yung seniors and frontline healthcare workers, they are at imminent risk for dying. And alam mo naman, Helen, sa infectious disease, hindi to parang non-communicable diseases na chronic siya. Ito, isang exposure, it can kill you. So one day can make a difference. And so you take the vaccine that is available now because baka hindi ka na umabot na buhay dun sa susunod na bakuna.
Yes.
Right.
Thank
Very
you
good.
very much, Doc Edsel.
Thanks, Doc Edsel. Now we go to our second question for this afternoon. So, it is said that Sinovac should not be given to healthcare workers. Is that still true? And today, now that Sinovac vaccines have just arrived in our country, and that the frontline healthcare workers are the top or the first priority. So, can we hear from Dr. Bev, our...
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Dr.
Ma'am
Bev.
Bev.
Everyone. Good afternoon po. So, syempre, no, we follow the FDA indications in the EUA. And in the FDA indication, it's clearly stated there that Sinovac is for 18 to 59 clinically healthy, diba? It didn't say there that it's contraindicated for healthcare workers, actually. It just says there that if actually it's not recommended for healthcare workers who are directly caring for COVID-19 patients. But it never said na for all other healthcare workers, hindi siya pwede, di ba? And as mentioned din po, we always have to do our risk-benefit analysis, di ba? So alam natin, hindi siya bawal for healthcare workers. But sabi nga ni Doc Edsel, hindi natin alam when the next vaccine will arrive. So the vaccine that's here is actually the best vaccine for us, di ba? Also knowing that our healthcare workers have the ability to also gauge what's best for themselves based on their exposure. Hindi naman lahat ng healthcare workers same din ng exposure, di ba? Meron iba sa atin have the opportunity to do teleconsult na lang talaga, di ba? So, baka sa atin, hindi masyadong imminent yung danger kung sinasabi nga. Pero may iba sa atin, walang choice eh. Meron ding ibang workers sa hospital staff na mas walang choice mag-teleconsult. Like yung mga nursing aides natin, yung janitor natin sa hospital, wala naman silang choice, papasok sila. No? So there are dangers that people experience and puts their risk higher. And so the benefit of the vaccine is actually also higher for them.
Okay, thank you very much. Because I think many of our healthcare workers are confused with that FDA statement. So initially, if there were other vaccines available, that I think that should be the central point. If there are other vaccines available, then that should have been prioritized for healthcare workers. But since this is the one that's available for us, the priority still are those at most risk for COVID-19. Thank you very much, Ma'am Bev.
Thank you, Dr. Bev.
Okay, so we have one more question. I hope, Ma'am Shelly, are you here po?
Yes, I'm here.
Yan. Good
Hi,
afternoon,
Ma'am
Doc
Shelly. Good
Shelly.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Ma'am, I have a question for you po. Is it
Yes.
possible to get vaccinated with a different brand of COVID vaccine for the second dose after having been vaccinated with the Sinovac vaccine for the first dose?
At the moment, we are not recommending that because there is no study about using a different brand of vaccine as a second dose. So we don't really know, and there are no studies that will support that. So at the moment, all you can do really is wait for your second dose because that's really the best way to get assurance of better protection by the second dose, and that is what our studies show.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If they decide to get vaccinated with Sinovac, the second dose will also be Sinovac.
You are correct. Yes.
Thank
Right.
you very much po.
And another question also for Dr. Shelley, Dr. Shelley, hello.
Yes. Hello.
We have this fourth question for you, doctor. What is
Yes.
the longevity of the efficacy or the immunity of the vaccine against COVID-19? So this is the question.
Okay, for Sinovac, we don't really know how long it is going to be effective. Of course, the trial has not been observed. I mean, the end results have not been resolved beyond, what has been covered this year. So we don't know. We hope that it will be extending to a year, but the observation period post the trials have not really been beyond 1 year. So we are just hoping that the next couple of months will reveal to us how long the duration of protection will be. But remember, there are many ways to get protected from the COVID vaccine. So we are very hopeful that for any vaccine for that matter, that the duration of protection will be longer than a few months. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, I would like to throw this question for Doc Edsel po, because we're talking about longevity of immunity or efficacy of the vaccine. Are we required to have our antibody titers, or is it a prerequisite for vaccination?
No, it's not necessary. First of all, we don't know what antibody levels are protective anyway in the first place.
Okay.
Second is that the studies, if you already had COVID, we actually still recommend that you get the vaccine, but wait about 90 days from the time you've recovered. The reason is, kung mataas pa yung antibody levels, manu-neutralize lang yung vaccine. So you want to get the antibody levels a little low. But the thing about natural infection is that hindi kasing predictable yung immunity. And so that's really the problem.
So, Doc Edsel, not all of those who had COVID are protected against COVID. Doc Edsel?
Let me kill my video. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, sorry.
Yes.
I gambled with my video and it didn't work. So anyway, let me start again. Basically, the antibodies kasi, if the antibody levels are still high, the reason we delay 90 days kahit nagka-COVID ka na, is because if the antibody levels are still high, it will neutralize the vaccine and it won't work. And so it's an efficacy issue why we wait. Now, you don't need to be tested either kasi kung if you had very mild disease that you didn't even notice and you were not diagnosed, the antibody levels tend to be very low. So it'll still work, yung vaccine. Finally, yung pag-swab is also not necessary because it's not necessary because as long as we do proper symptom screen, it should be okay. It's more of an efficacy issue rather than a safety issue, and as long as you wait 90 days, it's fine.
Okay. So to get the vaccine, the antibody titer is not required, and PCR test is also not required.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that. Doc Ted. Doc Ted?
Yes, Helen.
Kamusta, Doc Ted?
Okay, well, I'm feeling a bit feverish. So may konting parang sinat ng pakiramdam.
Okay.
A little sore on the left arm. That's where I got the jab. But basically, that's good, right? If I'm feeling fever, that means my antibody response is working.
It's working.
And, like the previous question, I've had the positive PCR in July, in June 29 of last year, after visiting Cebu. But I was asymptomatic.
May pabaon ng
luckily,
Cebu.
when we enlisted here in PGH, they gave us our serologic titers because there was a study ongoing. So I got the titers and they are negative. I have no IgM, I have no IgG. So I had the PCR positive, asymptomatic, which means I'm still a susceptible individual. So with the convincing efforts of Dr. Salbanya and the rest of the NITAG, I decided to actually get my jab this morning. Actually, last Sunday, there was a survey in PGH if you would choose AstraZeneca because there was a promise that AstraZeneca would arrive today. But yesterday there were news it wasn't arriving. So I followed the advice. The advice is the best vaccine for you is one that is already here. So I took my place in the spot and chose to be vaccinated in this morning symbolic vaccination.
Okay, congratulations, Doc Ted. Doc Ted, the target po is to vaccinate as many as 70% of the population because of herd immunity. Can you explain this principles to us po, sir?
Okay, when we do vaccination programs, you have to target a certain level of the population or the susceptibles based on the R naught of a particular virus. So for example, for measles, which is an R naught of about 16, that means one person infects about 16. They require that we are able to vaccinate 95% of the population. So the R naught of COVID-19 is somewhere at 2. And I think 2 or 2.5, I think they have different computations for everyone. But at that level, the result is actually 60 to 70% of the population will achieve a level of herd immunity if vaccination is done. Now, in Philippines, for example, we eliminate the below 18. And we know that about 50% of our population below the age of 25. So if you remove that, it's about 25% already of the 110 million that we have. Plus the very old, you remove that also. So we came up with a number at the National Vaccine Operations Center of vaccinating about 70 million of the 110 million. So in fact, that's the promised dose. I heard from Secretary Galvez today that his commitments already numbered to about 160 million doses. So sobra na dun sa expected. So our problem is that the vaccines arrive in trickles. They do not come at one time. So like for example, Sinovac, they gave us first this donation. But hopefully there's going to be 1 million every month to achieve the 20 million doses that will be arriving. So dahil may pwesto na ako as a health worker at PGH, so very lucky. So I took that chance already.
Wow. Okay. Sige. So you will be monitoring for your symptoms, no, Doc Ted?
Correct. They gave me a link. Merong parang link that I'm supposed to actually report daily whatever I feel. So it's a digital reporting system. I think everybody will get that.
Yes.
Kasi nga,
that's good.
DOH gave that. Meron kaming instructions, tapos meron siyang QR code, and then it has a web link. So I'm supposed to report again what I felt tomorrow in that reporting system. That's a reporting system of the subgroup on adverse reactions by the National Vaccine Operations Center, headed by Undersecretary Mirna Kabutay. So babantayan yan, and then there will be things that will be reported to the NAFIC, which is the National Adverse Events from Immunization Committee. So that's also under the DOH, and it's another group monitoring causality of adverse events from vaccination.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc Ted.
Thank you.
I would like
Thank you, Dr. Ted.
ask Ma'am Pen.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon.
Pen. We had our intensive whole day orientation on Sinovac yesterday, no? And one of the things, recurring questions kasi, we have a number of our healthcare workers who have comorbidities. So can healthcare workers with medical comorbidities avail of Sinovac?
Yeah, I agree. That's really a common question. Healthcare workers are really kasi susceptible, no? That's why we are prioritized, okay, for this vaccination, okay? With regards to about yung stable comorbidities, so I looked at the Sinovac phase 1, phase 2 clinical trials that were published in Lancet, no? So it states there, kasi yung mga indications ito are based on the inclusion-exclusion criteria of the clinical trials, no? The reason why they said that it's recommended for patients 18 to 59 years old who are healthy is because those are the ones included in the clinical trial. Okay, so with regards to yung comorbid, it just says there kasi healthy individuals. So it wasn't really specified there in the one that I read. What do they mean by healthy? So I asked a colleague, a senior, and they said that stable comorbid is pasok siya sa definition of healthy if your comorbid is stable. But the question now is, how will you say that you are stable? If comorbid is stable, that's something that you will have to consult with your practitioner, no, if you are not a doctor, or even if you're a doctor, actually sometimes you have your attending also, so you have to really settle that issue if you have a stable comorbid, okay? But then again, with the tradition, kasi we're particularly susceptible, the healthcare workers, no, so we don't want to have the severe disease. Like what Dr. Salvania said, it will protect you against having severe disease, no? So we have to weigh nga the risk versus benefit, no? So us being susceptible, facing COVID patients, in direct care of COVID patients, we are really susceptible, and we don't want the severe disease. That's why we really have to weigh the risk versus benefit, okay? And again, ultimately, it's a personal choice, no? Walang pilitan, okay? So if you feel that you have so and so, whatever pang-aalinlangan, no, on your part, no, okay, it's still a personal choice, a personal decision, no, if you will want to have the vaccinated, but take into consideration that you are a healthcare worker and you are really susceptible.
Okay, so
So
thank
I
you very
hope that
much.
clarified matters. Oo. Yung sa phase 3 trial, it's I don't have access to that, no. If Dr. Salvania would like to add, or Ma'am Bev, to that question.
No, that's great. I
Thank you,
can't
Doc.
talk about the phase 3 clinical trial, baka makulong ako. But there's public facing data naman that pretty much confirms naman. Actually, that you can look at the Brazil clinical trial data. I mean the tawag dito, yung protocol. It's on clinicaltrials.gov. And mukhang controlled comorbidity sinama naman nila sa healthcare workers. So we will give them a choice. But for non-healthcare workers, for now, hindi talaga.
Okay, thank you very much. So for healthcare workers, because they are exposed or at high risk of exposure to COVID-19, we always have to consider if the benefits outweigh the risks, right? And I think if you do, Ma'am Bev, please correct me if I'm wrong, no? If you do have comorbidities, you need clearance from your doctor, right? If you will be able to get the vaccine or not. Can you comment to this, Ma'am Bev?
Yes, tama po, no, Doc. Actually, we already downloaded the screening forms, right, to the hospitals.
Yes.
Yes, so makikita nyo po, no, iba-iba based on your condition. Meron tayong absolutely cannot get it, right, from to deferring it for 90 days, and then some actually yung mga mas may comorbids, may actual conditions, they will really need to consult their specialist or their own primary care provider.
Okay, so thank you for that. So all of those who consented to get vaccinated will actually be screened, no? So
Yes.
we do have a whole team here in Soto. We have a whole team for screening. We have a whole team for vital signs and a whole team for counseling.
Yes.
No? So we will make sure that you are healthy enough to get the vaccine if you want it.
Yes. So
Yeah,
it's
may I
still-
say something? May I
Yes,
say
ma'am. Go
something?
ahead,
Yes.
Ma'am Shelly.
Again, of course, these recommendations will depend on what vaccine is being given. Okay?
Okay.
So just take note of that, because for some vaccines, for example, if a vaccine is appropriate for older people, no, what we know is that many older people have comorbidities. So if that vaccine is for older people and allows older people to get it, it will be too much if we get all the older people get medical clearance, hindi ba? So
Yes,
specifically, yeah, if a vaccine is for older people, there are provisions in our recommendation that for elderly who are bedridden,
Yeah.
who are in a vegetative state, or whose life expectancy is below 6 months,
than
then they should get really the opinion of their physician. So it really also depends on what vaccine is being rolled out. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Ma'am
so much.
Shelly.
Dr. Shelley, now we have...
Kasi
Yes.
I'd like to expound on what Ma'am Bev said, no? Kasi they sent us the health assessment form on those who need medical clearance. So those listed in the plate, no? In the media plate are those with autoimmune disease,
Yes,
diagnosed with HIV, and those diagnosed with cancer or malignancy, transplant patients under steroid medication or treatment, bedridden with terminal illness and less than 6 months prognosis. If you still want the vaccine, you will need clearance from your attending physician.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So let's go now to the other population. No? So we have the question number 7. Can pregnant and lactating healthcare workers avail Sinovac?
Can I answer that question?
Who would like to answer? You would like to answer the question? Yes. I'll throw it to you, and we can also
Yeah.
have our guest. Okay. Dr. Helen.
Because I reviewed the statement of the Philippine Obstetrical and Gynecological Society, no? It still applies that you have to consider whether the benefits outweigh the risks. And if you are a healthcare worker, you're exposed to COVID-19 day in, day out, you have to consider that Sinovac was not tested on pregnant women and lactating women,
Yes.
right? In general, all vaccines are not recommended during the first trimester of pregnancy. We usually advise them after the first trimester of pregnancy. And if the benefits of protection against severe disease outweighs the risks of the vaccine on you and your baby, then you should get vaccinated. But again, it's a personal choice.
Right. It's a personal. Anyone from our guests who would like to answer the same question or to add? Can pregnant and lactating healthcare workers avail Sinovac? Dr. Helen?
Ma'am Bev?
As discussed by Dr. Edsel kanina, no? So in general, for if it's possible for the lactating or the pregnant woman, ideally hindi siya sa first 3 months, no, or first trimester of the pregnancy. Pero yon, ideal pa rin is to consult your healthcare provider, because in general naman, syempre kung high risk din talaga yung healthcare worker, yung benefit niya will outweigh the risk again, di ba? So dun ulit pumapasok yun.
Thank you, Ma'am Bev.
Thank you, Ma'am Bev.
So it's one of the last questions, no? I'd like to throw this to Dr. Fruto. Dr. Fruto.
Yes,
We're very,
right here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fruto, for accepting the challenge of being part of our VSMMC AEFI composite team.
Yes.
Oo, kasi a number of our healthcare workers are anxious about the possible side effects of Sinovac, particularly those with history of allergy. Can you tell us about the side effects of Sinovac and how we can manage it?
Okay. So before I answer that question specifically towards Sinovac, now let me just clarify things now, because the aim of this forum, I guess, is to convince the healthcare workers of Soto. No,
Yes.
Allow me to shift from English to Cebuano from time to time, because this will be my 5th or 6th online forum, town hall meeting, and I've noticed that the language barrier, no, for some of our colleagues in the paramedical field, the nurses, the medtechs, and the PTs, if we talk straight in medical jargon, they can listen, but it does not sink in. No, so maybe allow me, no, indulge me while I explain in English, and then I will maybe translate some terms in Cebuano.
Yes.
Our colleagues, no, apart from the doctors, those working in the hospital, tend to lump up all adverse reactions as allergy. We need to clarify what is allergy and what is not, no? My society, the Philippine Society of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, there are 134 of us, board-certified allergologists in the Philippines. We came up with an official position statement, which we released to the public last February 1 and February 9. No? The first official position statement, we differentiated a reactogenic reaction and allergic reaction. No? Now, how to differentiate both? When the reactogenic reaction happens when your body, we are all of us now have the immune system up and about working. We have the innate immune system which recognizes something foreign, potentially a pathogen. So at the post-injection site, the usual reaction that we expect, there will be pain, swelling, redness, erythema. Those are part of what we call reactogenic reactions. That is because your innate immune system will release biochemical mediators, which we call cytokines, promoting these inflammatory reactions. Those are expected in 20 to 25% of those who receive the vaccine. It's a localized reaction. But sometimes the biochemical mediators gets into the systemic circulation. If that happens, that is when we get the headache, the myalgia, the body aches, the body malaise, no? Again, those are expected. This type of reactions tend to be limited. Majority of the data show that they last around the first 3 days, no, 1 to 3 days. And they are very easy to manage, no? Should they happen, you can easily take an antipyretic or an analgesic, be it paracetamol, mefenamic acid, or you can even apply a cold compress. Now, the other one, no, the one that people are so afraid of, the allergic reaction, which is actually
Yes.
less common than the reactogenic reaction. In allergy, no, allergy is defined as a hypersensitivity reaction, which is an exaggerated immune response to a usually harmless substance. Now, it doesn't happen to all. Typical manifestations of allergy would include the occurrence of urticaria, redness of the skin, pruritus, itching. Sa Bisaya pa, for those people who don't understand urticaria, pwede siya dupang, labhag, mamula, mangatol, magburot ang mata o ngabil. That's what we call angioedema. These are all cardinal signs of the type 1 IgE-mediated allergy. Now, if should this happen to the patient, we classify them whether it's a mild allergic reaction or a severe. It's mild if it's only limited to skin manifestation. So that includes the rash, the presence of redness, the presence of itching, the complaint of warmth and itching. Now, with a mild allergic reaction, we can easily remedy that with an oral antihistamine or a short course of oral steroids. However, if the reaction is on top of the rash, the itching, the urticaria, there is difficulty of breathing, choking sensation, there's a drop in blood pressure, there might be vomiting episodes. That is when we label the patient as anaphylactic reaction. Anaphylaxis is our term for a severe allergy. For anaphylaxis is a true medical emergency. Should that happen, the drug of choice for that will be injectable epinephrine. Unfortunately, here in the Philippines, we do not have the EpiPen, but we do have the epinephrine ampule, which is part of the emergency kit, which will be made available in all vaccination centers. The medical staff in the observation area, as well as in the counseling area, are all trained to recognize anaphylaxis and how to treat it and what to do should it happen. No? Now, going back, how about the vaccines in particular? Actually, for those which have reported anaphylactic reactions, anaphylaxis is actually rare. It was reported in JAMA, no? The Journal for American Medical Association, published last February 12. Anaphylaxis was found more with the mRNA vaccines, particularly Pfizer and Moderna. Using their data, they were able to compute the anaphylaxis incidence rates for Pfizer to be at 5 per 1 million, and for Moderna, 2.5 per 1 million. So it's actually very rare, no? With regards to Sinovac, which is what is reaching our shores tomorrow, no? Very soon, we do not have a documented case for anaphylaxis. Tomorrow na, no? So majority of the cases of the adverse reactions are just your reactogenic reactions, which includes the swelling at the post-injection site, pain, redness, and the occurrence of low-grade fever. There may be myalgia, body malaise, and headache. So those are very easy to remedy. By the way, the only contraindication to receiving the COVID-19 vaccine across all vaccines is a documented true allergy, whether it's mild or anaphylactic in nature to the first dose, or a strong verified personal history of having had an allergic or anaphylactic reaction to another vaccine which has a similar component to the COVID-19 vaccine. So some patients will ask, Doc, allergic na ba ko og pasayan? Doc, allergic ko og ibuprofen. Can I still take the COVID-19 vaccine? Allergies to food, allergies to oral medications whose components are not related to the COVID-19 vaccine, allergies to environmental triggers are not contraindications. These patients may safely receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, another form of allergy, respiratory, allergic rhinitis and bronchial asthma. Now, the stand of the society is if these two respiratory allergies are well controlled, they are not contraindications to receiving the vaccine. These patients may safely receive the vaccine.
Okay. So thank you very much, Doc Fruto, no?
Yes.
Oo. So mga ka-quarantine, daghan tang nakatunan karong hapuna.
Yeah, daghan kita nakatunan, and we have also some comments here, and people are so thankful no, nagpasalamato na itong mga quarantine sa itong mga experts this afternoon. Og sa in few minutes no mosulod na nga to ang medical center chief no para just to say thank you to our experts. But before we're going to do that, can we hear some closing statements from our experts from the Central and Manila? Yes.
So, siguro age before beauty, no? Doc Ted, can I ask for a closing statement from you? How do we
Age before
encourage
beauty.
our healthcare workers to get their job?
Well, the vaccines are here, and even Dr. Anthony Fauci, the top infectious guy in the US, said the best vaccines are the vaccines that are available. The vaccines will arrive tomorrow morning, right?
Tomorrow morning, Doc Ted.
So if you are in the list and you have the chance, you have been chosen, I suggest get vaccinated.
Thank you very much. Ma'am Shelly.
Okay, beauty yan hindi yan age
Beauty po.
Thank you very much. Like we heard earlier, the best vaccine is the one that you receive in your arm. Diba? That's the most important thing. But remember, aside from protecting yourself from moderate to severe disease, you're also protecting your colleagues. Because everyone who gets vaccinated will save a healthcare worker also from moderate and severe disease. Think about that, no? So, yes, please get yourselves vaccinated with whatever is there now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Shelly. Doc Edsel, we really want to listen to about the efficacy of the vaccines.
Yeah, so ganito lang yan. Once you have an FDA EUA, that means that's an effective vaccine. So any vaccine that we get is equivalent. Para lang siguro, yun nga, yung issue with the seniors, we can't give it above 60, unfortunately, until we get more data. Hindi ibig sabihin, it's not gonna work. It's just that we need more data. So, with all the vaccines being equal, especially against severe disease, as all my colleagues have said, the vaccine that will work best for you is the one that you get now. And think about this. There are 7.8 billion people in the world. There have been about 220 million vaccines given. That's what? Less than, nasan tayo? Maybe 3%. You will be among the first 3% to get the vaccine in the world na nagpapatayan ngayon ang mga bansa para kumuha. You are being given the privilege of being among the first 3% in the world to get the vaccine. Kahit anong vaccine pa yan, basta nag-FDA approved, equivalent po yan. Please do not lose your place in line. Although kung ayaw niyo po talaga, kung dumating yung Astra, first pa rin naman kayo. But I don't know when Astra will arrive. And you can get COVID tomorrow. Of course, it takes a while for the vaccine to kick in also. So meron delay factor talaga yan. So please, if you get the chance, sayang, walang guarantee that Astra will get here next week. Alam mo, sanay na tayo sa COVAX yung Pfizer, and now ito. So ako, nung dumating na talaga, doon na sigurado ko na, pakisiguro na rin po yung place nyo para po magsimula na po yung katawan nyo na gumawa ng antibodies and you start to get protected in a few weeks. Thank you po.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Edsel.
Now we have to listen from our person from DOH. We have Dr. Bev Hall. Hi, Doctor.
Hi, thank you again for this opportunity to join all of you in Vicente Soto in this session. No? So we're very, very thankful that within the hospital, there are really initiatives to make sure that everyone is prepared for the coming of the vaccines. I'm saying this not just as a fellow healthcare worker, but perhaps as someone, a health worker who has not been working in the front lines, no, because I'm in public health management. First of all, thank you very much to all of you who have been sacrificing the last month or so. No, kami, we have the option of staying in our cubicle in the office and be less exposed. But we know many of you are always out there, risking your lives. So even if the vaccination program in general has the goal of herd immunity, please take note now that we have multiple goals. And one of our primary goals is to really reduce morbidity and mortality, and more importantly, to make sure that the healthcare system does not collapse. No? And really, with that, making sure that our healthcare workers are protected. Kayo po yun, no? Kasi sa inyo, nakasalalay, everyone else's lives, right? And so that's also the reason why you are the first priority in all of the vaccines that are really going to arrive. And with that, I hope it's also apparent to all of us that unlike many other countries, no, we do have a history of quite negative, no, history about vaccine confidence, and that we are parang starting from a lower baseline, so to speak, compared to others. And so with you as healthcare workers, you need to know, and you need probably to just be reminded that you please don't underestimate your power to change people's opinion, whether that's positively or actually even negatively, no? So kahit ayaw po natin yan, inevitably in your family, you will likely be the person who is being listened to. In the workplaces, probably, if not in the hospital, but in the workplaces of your children, of your parents, it's your opinion that they carry, right? And more importantly, in the community. And so, if we need to be more informed than usual, then we have to take the steps, no? And not really rely on our medical, I guess our medical school knowledge. Kasi a lot of new things are evolving. Like every week, actually every day, if there are new developments, our tag or experts will already like consult each other about how this is going to change the next steps in the vaccination program. We are doing our due diligence because this is very important, but we hope as a whole healthcare sector, this is the biggest health project or health program you will say ever in the entire country, and no amount of government effort or money can make it success if we all don't help each other out, no, not just in the healthcare sector but in the entire country, public sector, private sector, profit, non-profit, we all have to help each other out. So we're really appealing to everyone, let us be very well informed, and if we're still not well informed, let's consult people who really studied the literature, who took time to understand the numbers that have been mentioned today. And if we're still not informed, then let us be very, very careful when we speak about our opinions, because we might unduly actually influence people to not take a life-saving vaccine for themselves. No, hindi natin yun alam. So yun lang po. Again, I think I would like to reiterate our deepest appreciation and thanks to all of you for your sacrifices the last year. Wala pong matatawaran yon. Maraming salamat po. And you deserve the vaccine. You deserve safe and effective vaccines, and it's coming po. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Wow, thank you very much, Ma'am Bev. So that's really in sync with the shared identity of Soto. No? Thank you very much.
Shared identity.
So hearing from the Cebuanos, unahin natin si Fruto kasi Bisaya speaking to. Doc Fruto, your closing statement, how do you encourage healthcare workers to get vaccinated for COVID-19?
Okay. I'm not actually Cebuano. I was born in Davao, but I grew up in Cebu. I still feel na siguro I speak better in English, but I had to learn to speak Cebuano to reach out more, no? Now, with regards with regards to vaccination hesitancy, no? Apart from efficacy, the main reason for that is the fear of the adverse drug reaction. Just to reassure everybody who is listening right now from the Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center, no, do not be afraid. Do not let your fear overpower your better sense, your better judgment. No, the minute risk of incurring an adverse reaction cannot outweigh the overwhelming life-saving benefit. No, and should it happen that you are the ones who belong to the small proportion who had an adverse reaction, like what I discussed earlier, it's very easy to remedy reactogenic. No, you can give a pain reliever, you can give a cold compress, paracetamol. However, if you happen to belong to the rare part of the population where you incur an allergic reaction, anaphylaxis, rest assured that we are ready. We have epinephrines on site. We know what to do, and there has been no deaths for those who have been given epinephrine.
Thank you very much, Doc Fruto.
Thank you, Dr. Fruto.
So at our vaccination site, we actually have a setup for emergency room, a satellite
Yes.
emergency
Soto
room.
is prepared for that.
We're ready for the vaccine.
Yes.
So let us hear from our Deputy Chief Implementer, Doc Pen. Doc Pen Villamor.
Hello. Sorry, I'll just turn off my camera because I have erratic signal where I am right now. So I
Okay.
just like to say that we are still in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody knows that we're still in a pandemic, so we really have to protect ourselves as much as we can, no? So not just ourselves, but our loved ones, no? Just like what Dr. Bebho said earlier, no? By the way, I'd like to thank them, Dr. Bebho, Dr. Edsel Salvania, Dr. Shelly De La Vega, and Dr. Ted Herbosa for gracing us today, no? It was really, Helen and I were really having a, yesterday planning this out because we really want to keep all our staff in Soto well informed, no, and updated, and to help them, no, make wise decisions. Okay, so I'm glad. Thank you for coming, and of course, Dr. Fruto, Chodorico for being here with us. So thank you. So again, as I'm saying, we have to protect ourselves and our loved ones. No matter how careful we are still susceptible. Okay, no matter how the precautions that we observe, the health standards that we observe, we are still susceptible. No, so this is just another layer of protection we can afford for ourselves, no, and for the society. So if it's something that we can do, ako personally, I will have myself vaccinated because I'm thinking that it's another layer of protection I can give for not just for myself but for the people around me. So I will take it kasi nagpa-vaccine sila Dr. Herbosa, si Dr. Salvania. Ako rin pa-vaccine, di ba? Oo. So, kasi
Alright.
it's there eh. It's there.
Great.
It's already
Thank
there.
you. Yes.
Thank you po.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Pen.
Thank you, Pen.
And of course, to speak in behalf of the men and women of Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center, we have with us this afternoon our incident commander, our medical center chief of VSMMC, Dr. Gerardo M. Aquino Jr. Hi, Doctor.
Hi, sir.
Hi, good evening. To Dr. Ted Herbosa, my former boss, sir. Maayong gabi diha, no? To Dr. Shelly De La Vega, Dr. Edsel Salvania, yung boss ko sa DOH, no? Dr. Bebs Ho, sila Dr. Teodoro, and sino pa hindi ko? Si Doc Pen, no? And I think the rest. First of all, maraming salamat, no, for taking your time to inform not only on the employees of BSMC but I think the public in general of Cebu, no, kasi at least you've heard may kunting mga agam-agam and some reservations with regards to this project or this activity, but I think, no, with this afternoon's giving of information, I know that there will be a lot of especially employees, no, who would now be convinced of really going out in terms of the vaccination. Personally, I was asked, Jerry, magpa-vaccinate ka ba? Siyempre, ako yung mauuna. Just like si Gab kanina, no? I am scheduled on the 4th kasi on the 4th of March yung amin. So, as the head of the institution, I should be the first one to be vaccinated to show to my staff, no, that there's really nothing to fear and to be afraid of. Para alam nila na kahit ikaw na medical center chief, you submit yourself and sinabi nyo na lahat what are those advantages. But I just like to show to my staff na wala tayong dapat katakutan. This is really a protection for us, and I myself will be the first one to be vaccinated on the 4th of March. Ready na. Medyo nag-exercise lang ng konti.
Yay. Yay.
So thank you again sa lahat ng information that you have given this afternoon. I know this FB Live kasi namin is cutting across a lot of people, not only on the healthcare workers, but I think the general public. In fact, yung nagko-comment pa nga sometimes are even national and international. So this information will really be very useful and very helpful, not only on my employees or the employees of BSMMC, but the general public here in Cebu. So again, maraming salamat po sa lahat.
Thank you very
Thank you so much,
much.
Dr. Aquino.
Salamat.
Yeah, so thank you very much, no? So today's session really was the goal was to really advise and give information to all of the healthcare workers of VSMMC primarily, but also the other healthcare workers who will be part of our quick substitution list. So this is a privilege given to frontline healthcare workers that we are first priority for the COVID-19 vaccination regardless of brand. And tomorrow at 7:40 a.m., the Sinovac vaccines will arrive in Cebu. And today we had our simulation for the transfer of cold chain management, no?
Yes.
So we are ready. Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center COVID vaccination team, we are ready for the vaccines. So for those nga mga Sotonians na nagduha-duha pa, of course, it is always your personal choice. Why
Yes.
pugsanay?
Yes,
So,
walay pugsanay.
Walay pugsanay.
And I always believe on trust. I made a decision for myself when I asked my boss, will you be vaccinated? Then he said, he answered me, yes. Then I said, all right, because he said yes, I have to be vaccinated. No further questions.
Yes.
So that this is really based on trust that we as healthcare workers, people are looking up on us and our decisions really has impact to our society. So that is why we decide what's best. And I learned very well from Dr. Ted this afternoon that the best vaccine for you is the one which is available now.
Yes,
All
correct.
right.
And we have to remember, no, even if we're vaccinated or not, we have to maintain the minimum health standards of wearing your face mask, your face shield, physical distancing, and hand hygiene. You can still prevent transmission of COVID-19. However, a COVID vaccine will add a protection, a layer of protection against severe disease.
So thank you to our guest experts for this afternoon. We have Dr. Herbosa.
Chudoro Herbosa, Dr. Shelly De La Vega, Dr. Edsel Salvania, Dr. Beverly Lorraine Ho, Dr. Ian Fruto Chodorico III, and Dr. Maria Filina Villamor. Thank you very much.
Kaayong salamat sa inyong oras
Thank
ug panahon.
Kay Dinhi
Dinhi
sa
sa
Soto,
Soto,
kalidad
kalidad
nga
nga serbisyo among garbo.
garbo.
Kini sa Atty.
Kini
Panugali.
si Dr. Helen Madamba.
Kini ang Soto Live. Mayong gabi.
Mayong gabi.
Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Okay, thank you.
Mayong gabi.
Mayong gabi.
Mayong gabi.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you po.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Happy.
Ingat,
Thank you.
ingat.
Thanks.
Sir Jerry.
God bless. God bless.
God bless po.
God bless.
Thank
Sir
you, Jerry.
Ted.
Pen. God bless, Pen.
Ma'am Helen. Sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you po. Bye-bye po.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doc Helen. Doc Helen.
Yes, yes.
A little correction lang. Oo.